Good afternoon, this is the Barrel Gang.
The production of Bonnie and Clyde was filled with hidden arguments, shocking accidents, unexpected studio fights, and very real dangers that nearly shut the movie down. And believe it or not, the famous ending wasn't even the original plan.
I'm an undertaker.
So let's dig into weird and fascinating facts you never knew about Bonnie and Clyde. Number 1. Faye Dunaway was nearly blinded during filming. During the scene where Bonnie looks out a car window as bullets explode around her, debris and squib smoke blasted directly into Faye Dunaway's eyes with far more force than anyone anticipated. The explosion misfired slightly, sending burning dust and tiny fragments straight toward her face. She felt an instant sharp sting that caused her to cry out and forced the entire set to freeze. Production stopped immediately while a doctor was rushed in to examine her eyes for scratches, burns, or potential cornea damage. Thankfully, she escaped permanent injury, but the emotional shock lingered. And she wasn't the only cast member pushed into unexpectedly risky situations. Number 2. Warren Beatty insisted on doing his own dangerous driving.
Well, I'm Miss Bonnie Parker, and this here's Mr. Clyde Barrow. We rob banks.
Despite constant warnings from the studio and even the stunt team, Warren Beatty insisted on driving himself during several of the movie's wild chase scenes to give them a more authentic edge. The dusty Texas backroads were unpredictable, with deep ruts, sharp bends, and drop-offs that made every turn risky. At several points, the car skidded close enough to the edge of ditches that crews shouted for him to stop. But Beatty refused to stunt double, saying the realism was worth it. Meanwhile, unexpected controversies were building far outside the set. Number 3. Bonnie Parker's real family strongly disliked the movie. When the film hit theaters, several of Bonnie Parker's real-life relatives spoke out against how she was portrayed. They argued she never dressed glamorously and felt the movie turned bank robbers into romantic icons. One frustrated family member wrote a public letter criticizing Faye Dunaway's elegant appearance, claiming it turned Bonnie into a stylish legend instead of showing the harsh reality of her life. Their complaints added fuel to early backlash from critics who felt the movie glorified criminals. And that clash wasn't the only major disagreement surrounding the project. Number 4. The studio originally wanted the movie to fail. Warner Brothers executives disliked almost everything about the film from its earliest stages. They complained it was too violent, too artistic, too strange, and too different from typical Hollywood productions. Some executives even suggested dumping it quietly into a few theaters so it would disappear without embarrassment. Warren Beatty believed in the project so strongly that he volunteered to slash his own salary to keep filming alive. Ironically, the movie became a major cultural and commercial hit, proving the studio's early judgment completely wrong. But unusual decisions continue to shape production throughout filming. Number 5. Gene Wilder improvised his first major film scene out of fear. Gene Wilder had never acted in a movie before stepping onto the Bonnie and Clyde set to play Eugene. During the frantic kidnapping scene, his nerves were so intense that he blanked on several lines and instinctively began improvising his reactions. His anxious expressions and spontaneous dialogue were so authentic, the director loved them and kept the improvised moments in the final cut. Wilder later joked that his real-life panic blended perfectly with the panic his character was supposed to feel. And the realism didn't stop at acting choices. Number 6. The bank robbery scenes were shot in real operating banks.
Alright.
To make the robberies feel as believable as possible, the production team filmed inside real Texas banks that were still operating during business hours. Customers were asked to step aside while actors burst through the doors waving prop guns, but not everyone got the memo. Several locals panicked, thinking they were witnessing an actual robbery, and the confusion became so serious that police had to supervise every single take. The setup created unpredictable, chaotic atmosphere, but also delivered incredibly realistic footage. And not all realism came from the locations. Number 7. Clyde's machine gun was so heavy it kept pulling Beatty's belt down. The production used vintage-style replica weapons built to match the weight and feel of the real Barrow Gang guns. Warren Beatty quickly discovered that Clyde's heavy machine gun was a serious challenge to handle while running. The weight constantly dragged his belt downward, and more than once, he nearly lost his pants mid-scene. He often had to juggle holding the gun in one hand and keeping his clothes together with the other. It became a running joke among the cast and crew throughout filming. And wardrobe trouble didn't end there. Number 8. Faye Dunaway's dresses were so tight they caused constant pain. To maintain Bonnie Parker's iconic, stylish look, the costume designers dressed Faye Dunaway in perfectly fitted vintage outfits of the 1930s. The dresses were elegant but extremely restrictive, leaving her almost no room to bend or sit comfortably. Some were so tight she needed special leaning chairs between takes because sitting normally was impossible. Dunaway humorously called the wardrobe beautiful torture. Yet those very outfits became one of the recognizable elements of the film. And one wardrobe issue kept creating problems from start to finish. Number 9. Warren Beatty wore the same suit for most of the film. Because Clyde Barrow was known for his signature sharply dressed look, Warren Beatty wore nearly the same style of suit in scene after scene. But filming in windy, dusty Texas meant the suit became dirty within minutes. The wardrobe team had to create multiple identical duplicates so production wouldn't grind to a halt every time the original got stained. Keeping the suits clean and consistent became one of the most unexpectedly high-maintenance tasks on the entire set. And the wardrobe wasn't the only challenge the studio had to handle. Number 10. The film's violence was so extreme it nearly got banned.
Sal told me this tale on the evening.
In the 1960s, mainstream movies rarely showed blood or graphic gunfire. Bonnie and Clyde shocked audiences with its sudden violence, its stylized slow-motion shots, and its brutal final ambush sequence. Some theater owners refused to screen it at all, fearing public backlash. Others praised it as revolutionary and daring. The controversy exploded nationwide, and the film's bold depiction of violence helped reshape the future of Hollywood action and drama. And behind that violence was surprisingly creative sound design. Number 11. Gunshot sounds were made using firecrackers in metal containers. Instead of relying on real firearm recordings, the sound designers experimented with placing firecrackers inside metal buckets, cans, and small barrels. The resulting echo created a sharp, aggressive crack that felt more dramatic than actual gunshots. They later layered additional effects to give the sound even more punch. This unconventional method helped define the gritty, punchy auditory style that made the movie's gunfight so memorable. And special effects became even more intense for the final scene. Number 12. Over 100 hidden squibs were placed inside the car for the final scene. The climactic ambush required one of the most complex squib setups of its time. More than 100 tiny explosive charges were carefully hidden inside the car, under seats, behind metal panels, and even on nearby props to simulate the barrage of bullets tearing everything apart. The timing had to be perfect because the crew wanted to film the entire sequence in a single take. They rehearsed for days to ensure nothing misfired. The result became one of cinema's most iconic endings ever captured. And even everyday conditions added to the production struggles. This groundbreaking movie was full of unusual and surprising behind-the-scenes stories. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next deep dive.